Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. And first we're going to start with Kherson direction. The Russians during the previous night made a very powerful strike against the Ukrainian airfield that located in the vicinity of Nikolaev. As a result of that strike, the Ukrainians lost another MiG-29, that MiG-29 that was upgraded and provided by the Western countries. And this is not the first case, this is probably the second or third day in a row when the Russians are mainly focused on the Ukrainian airfields and the Ukrainian missile carriers. Probably from first points of view, this is something like a test because the Russians know that sooner or later the Western countries will provide the Ukrainians F-16s, and basically they need to have a structure, they need to have a tactic how to destroy and how to attack the Ukrainians F-16s. There was a very powerful explosion in this area we just see. Then we got some video how the Ukrainians and photo confirmation how the Ukrainians managed to improve and upgrade this airfield since the beginning of this year, and mainly because they understand that soon they're going to have more aircrafts and they need to use them more often against the Russian positions. Also, we have the photo of the fire in this area, and according to information we have, as a result of strike, the Russians managed to hit and destroy not just the MiG-29s but also hangars and the ammo depot, fuel depot for the aircrafts in this area. And I'll remind you that just yesterday we got another video how the Russians managed to discover and to destroy the Ukrainian aircrafts in the vicinity of Kryvyi Rog, almost the same situation. As a result of missile strike, another barrack was destroyed, another hangar of Ukrainian air forces was destroyed with another MiG-29 on board. So we see that Russians launched some kind of hunting against the Ukrainian air forces. But that was not the final update from this territory. Also, the Russians published another video how they managed to discover the Ukrainian ammo depot somewhere in the vicinity of Kislovka. As a result of FAB bombs or missile strike. Probably that was missile strike, because if we see FAB bombing, usually there are two strikes, because airplanes have like two wings, and that means that aircrafts can carry two FABs. So that's why if there is explosion, if there are two explosions, that means that was FAB strike. As a result of attack, probably of missile, the ammo depot was damaged, and after that there was a secondary detonation, and after that you see that almost the entire area was set on fire because of the secondary detonation of ammo depot in this area. Furthermore, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the settlement by the name of Berislav, the settlement that located on the line between Lvova, Burgunka, Kazatsk, Berislav, the area where the Ukrainians are trying to concentrate their forces for the next offensive operation or marine operation with the forces they're planning to use for crossing Dnipro and creating the foothold on the Russian side of Dnipro River. And now we are moving to Orekhov direction, to Bradley Square. Today we got also some updates from this territory. The Ukrainians tried to concentrate their forces on the western part of Verbova, but during the previous night and the previous day, the Russians attacked this territory with artillery systems, with mortars, trying not to allow the Ukrainians to dig in deeper and closer to the Russian positions. Obviously, according to the videos, I understand that Ukrainians had significant number of losses as a result of FPV drone strikes, as a result of artillery strikes, and as a result the Ukrainians haven't managed to get another square meters closer to Verbova. They were stopped on this line, and they've been stopped on this line, and currently the Ukrainians don't have chances to continue their offensive operation further. Furthermore, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of Rabotina. For these purposes, the Russians mainly use missiles and guided bombs and just regular multi-launch rocket launch systems for these purposes, and toss flamethrower systems. These just regular things to not allow the Ukrainians to concentrate their forces in this area. Now we are moving further to South Donetsk direction, and today we got also a lot of very interesting details and updates, and I see that the Russians have increased the range of attacks, and currently they have already established low range and middle range superiority, and now they're trying to not just to get the long range superiority, they have already got this. Currently they want to improve their positions, they improve their situation, and not to allow the Ukrainians to get the initiative back. For example, on this video we can see how the Russians managed to to discover the United Kingdom HFM Stormer. This is anti-air defense system, and as a result of artillery strike, that air defense system was destroyed somewhere in the vicinity of Kurakhova, very far from the combat line. And the Russians continue bombing and attacking with guided bombs the settlement by the name of Novomikhailivka. So on this video, as you can see, there were two explosions. One explosion, the second. That means that the Russians were using FAB 500 or FAB 250 because, as we discussed, a plane has two wings, and basically a plane can launch and drop two missiles at once. So this is the reason, and this is like the results of attack with FAB 500. When we see one explosion, I believe that usually that means that this explosion is a result of attack of missile, or maybe artillery strike against ammo depot, and we see the secondary detonation. Now we move to Klishchiivka area. Today we got a lot of very interesting updates, to be more precise, a lot of very interesting details. And first detail is that the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions along the railways, and the Ukrainians try to cross the railways, but not in one place. The Ukrainians made few attempts to cross the railways and to attack further in direction of, let's say, Mykolaiv, Radovka or Bakhmut, but the Russians control the railways because the railway is located on the hill and there is a very big open air position, and it is very easy to attack the railways with artillery systems. That the Ukrainians made an attempt to cross the railways in the vicinity of Andriivka, and the second attempt took place in the vicinity of Klishchiivka on the way to Bakhmut. The Russians reported there was a very big story about that. We will not watch the big one because like 7 minutes. But the most important is that Ukrainians were able to enter the railways and were trying to cross the railways and to continue offensive operation, but the Ukrainians were covered by the artillery strike, and those who managed to survive were forced to step back. When talking about Andriivka one more time, the most important part of the battle for Andriivka, we know that Andriivka was captured by the Ukrainians, or at least the Russians were forced to step back, but today we got another geolocated video confirmation from the Ukrainian side that the Russians were trying to make some evacuation of their soldiers from the underground facilities that located below the railways. So basically this territory, these underground facilities are still under Russian control. The Russians have them operational reserves in this area, and the Russians always ready to counterattack in direction of Andriivka and to return control over the settlement. So that was the reason why the Ukrainians were trying to cross the railways on the north of Andriivka, because they wanted to capture the three lines on the Russian side and then to, let's say, to encircle or to capture the underground facilities. But the Ukrainians were defeated, and still the Russian controls the area below the railways, which is very important because this territory is a strategical area for the Russian defense. Other important updates are coming from Kiev. Today, the Russian sources and United States authorities published a list of reforms that Ukrainians need to implement if they want to save finance and funds the next year. And the list is very difficult and is very, very interesting. First of all, just like to a few words, as you can see, there were a lot of papers, like few documents, not just one, a lot of pages. We will not read everything, but if we underline everything, the most important that United States of America Western countries wants to force the Ukrainians to allow the special agents of United States and and of NATO to be applied on the most important positions. The second thing that the Western countries wants is to reduce the power of Ukrainian special forces SBU, because they are afraid of that SBU will try to press and people who will get the most important position. So according to this document, the most important, the biggest danger comes from SBU, the Ukrainian SBU, which is basically a terrorist organization which control the entire situation in Ukraine, which control corruption in Ukraine, and which can make pressure against the people who will be adopted and applied on this or that important positions in courts, in economy sphere, and so on. So this is the main purpose, to reduce and destroy SBU and to apply their own people, Western people, on the main positions in Ukraine. So basically to make Western occupation of Ukraine, and not only after that, the Western countries will continue support Ukraine during these next phases of the special military operation. And that's it for today. today. Military Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.